by Robin Gwaltney. Gwaltney Group, RE/MAX Results. Welcome to Rochester Real Estate, featuring Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good morning. It's Andy Brownell, News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM. Joined, of course, by Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you doing?
I am fantastic.
And busy as always.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Busy, busy, busy. I actually just did the math, and I have personally sold 55 houses so far this year,
Wow.
which averages to 3 houses a week. So I now know why, A, my house is a disaster, and B, I'm exhausted. But other than that, life is fantastic.
Well, what else would you be doing, right?
Nothing I'd rather be doing,
There
that's
you
for
go.
sure.
So, it's all over social media, and I'm sure it's being talked about quite a bit amongst real estate folks, but this historic home went up for sale this week in Rochester, and it's just one of those. I was aware of this home a long time ago, and I wish I could buy it. It's crazy.
I don't know if you wish you could buy it. I was in it yesterday,
Okay.
and I mean, it is a very unique home. Let's just say that. And it's, if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, it's known as the pump house
Right.
to the Rochester Plumber House.
So it's on the base of the hill, right?
It's located directly below the Plumber House, correct. So I actually showed it yesterday, and one of the concerns that my particular buyer had was the shared driveway, which in Old Southwest, that's not that uncommon. But this particular house, people have to drive right through your front, right past the front of your house to get to theirs. And it's kind of like right on the shared driveway. So it's a little unique, but that's not the reason I think the house is not for me. Okay, there's other reasons. So it has a 3,600 square foot cave.
Yeah, a bat cave.
Yeah, a cave in the house. So you lost me right there. So that whole Batman and Robin thing, yeah, nope, don't want the cave.
So maybe I don't want to live there, but I want to own it anyway.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm happy to take you for a tour if you want to go for a tour. It's empty, so it's not inconveniencing anybody. So if you want to see it, I'll show it to you. It's unique is for sure the right word. But I don't know. It doesn't feel very homey to me, and maybe it's just because it's empty and nobody's living there, but I couldn't get past that cave. And then there's a sliding glass door, so you see down into the cave, and right down the middle of the cave is a sidewalk, like a sidewalk to nowhere.
So you wouldn't sleep well at night is what you're telling me.
I probably wouldn't. I think if it were like, the 1800s and we wanted to open up some kind of a whiskey bootleg place, it'd be an awesome opportunity. But other than that, I'm not sure what we would want with that.
So my understanding is that was storage for goods and things like that were used in the Plumber House, and there's a connection that actually goes from that cave up to the actual Plumber House that's not open.
Okay, I was going to say that connection has clearly been closed off, but that would make sense. So it was literally the cellar, the root cellar, or where they kept the potatoes and somebody said you could put wine in there, and I said, listen, you could put more wine than any liquor store in Rochester has. It's a pretty serious cave, but no, it's cool, it's fun, it's unique, and the buyers that I showed it to were actually quite intrigued because they're not the cookie cutter house kind of people. So for somebody who's looking for something really different, it definitely is that. And it has 4 beds and 3 baths and a 2-car garage. There was in the middle of it, it looks like it probably was the garage at one time. There's this great big garage door horse stall thing looking, but it doesn't open. And then right behind it is actually the dining room now.
Okay. So there's I wouldn't be able to drive a car into the cave. I'm thinking if I had a collection of Maseratis or something like that, I could store them there.
No, it doesn't go that way. If it worked like that, somebody probably would be pretty excited by it, but I guess I'm a sunlight girl, so caves do not do a thing for me. Not a thing for me.
The other question I had about the house, because a lot of those old houses have really tiny rooms.
Yeah.
Is that the case here?
Not so much. They did describe the kitchen as some gourmet kitchen, or I don't know what words they used. You know how some of these realtors, wink, 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 use all these fancy words, but it wasn't exactly the gourmet kitchen that I expected. But again, it's a very, very, very old house. Yeah. But the living room spaces are nice, and the bedrooms were quite large. And I mean, it's definitely quaint. And I would have loved to seen it when the family lived there, because I'm sure with their furnishings in, it was a completely different feel.
Sure, I bet it was. I always wonder too, in that area, if you get a lot of noise from the highway, and because you're right by both 12th Street and Highway 52, really.
You know what? I didn't notice any noise. It was tucked in, and they have this kind of lovely patio up on the upper level, and I sat out there for a little while because I was Zooming with this buyer, and I didn't hear anything. It was actually quite tucked in nicely, and it was pretty quiet and serene. No, I was happy to be able to go in and see it because it was cool.
I wonder if a morel mushroom hunter who wanted to dry other mushrooms would be able to. See, you're right. It's going to be a real niche buyer, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. They could have Girl Scout camp in there, and you could camp out. I don't know. It's just really, really interesting. My son actually called me about it, and he's like, "Mom, I saw this guy on TikTok who does these unique houses. Unfortunately, the guy screwed it up and said that the house was in Rochester, New York.
Oh.
But anyway, he did a TikTok on that house, and Brett's like, "Did you ever hear of it?" I said, "Oh yeah, I've been in it." And I said, "It's really cool." And he's like, "Oh, I'd like to see it." And I'm like, I'm happy to take you in there. So anybody who's listening, if they want to go see the house, I'm here for a tour.
You're just not going in the cave with them.
You have to wear a hard hat, and they do supply the hard hats, but A, I'm not really into putting on a hard hat that somebody else has been wearing, and B, I'm not going in the cave, Andy. The cave is not my jam.
You're more like, let's have the big giant patio deck looking out on the Mississippi River.
And sunshine and big windows. When I hear people say to me, I'm looking for a house with a lot of sunlight, big windows, I'm like, you're talking my language.
Oh, yeah. Well, like I say, if I had, what is it, $500,000 laying around? Yeah,
it's $550,000, and I'm sure someone's going to buy it. I'm sure someone's going to think this is an amazing opportunity for this really unique home, and I have no doubts that the house will sell, and especially in this market.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a cool adventure for somebody. No doubt about it.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens with this thing.
All right, we'll do that. We'll follow that one.
Oh, boy, that's fun.
But you know what? If you really do have $500,000 to spend and you want something with the big windows and the sunlight, I've got a house for you.
Okay?
All right. So I just listed a house out in Byron. The address is 1005 3.5 Avenue, Northwest Byron. It is gorgeous. It is a brick executive home, okay? It has 4 bedrooms, 4 baths. It was built back in 1991. On the main floor of the house, there are 2,524 square feet.
Wow.
It's a really sprawling, 3 bedrooms on the main, just beautiful house. They just recently redid the master bath, and it's gorgeous. So, the house is very, very nice, and it is a total of 4,182 square feet. And it just sits, on a city lot in Byron, but it's a very well manicured and groomed lot, so it definitely grabs your attention when you drive by. But they put new windows in, so that house is so beautiful and bright and sunny. I walked in and I'm like, okay, this is my kind of house. Yeah, really nice. $499,900. And I would love to show it to anybody who wants to see it, and I would love to sell it. And I'm pretty sure we'll sell that one pretty quickly.
So if you're not into caves, go this way. That's for sure.
Right. So I can show you caves for $550, or I can show you sunlight for $500. Either way, you're going to get 4 bedrooms and a beautiful brick house. There we go. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment with Robin Gwaltney with Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results right here on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Hi, break time?
I know you.
I'm Cole.
Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back. Robin Gwaltney's with us. Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results. Isn't it about time of the month where we kind of see some statistics, Robin?
It is. I have got the market report from last Monday, so it's pretty current, a week old. But I'll go over some of the statistics about the current market. It hasn't changed a great deal, but, it's still nice to kind of talk about it, right?
Right.
So it says, currently there are 469 sales pending in the market overall, leaving 133 listings for sale.
That's up a little bit.
Yeah, the resulting pending ratio is 77.9%. So you might be asking yourself, what does that mean? The pending ratio indicates the supply and demand of the market, of course. Specifically, a high ratio means that listings are in demand. So 77.9% is a pretty high ratio. Low ratio means there's not enough qualified buyers for the supply. We haven't had that problem for a very, very long time. So taking a closer look, we notice that the 200 to 300 price range has a relatively large number of contracts pending sale. We also noticed that the 200 to 300 range has relatively large inventory of properties for sale at 30 listings. 30. Median list price, well, this is from Monday, so that number's probably 5 now, but it was 30 on Monday. All the properties, the median price is on the market is $429,500. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah. So at $200,000, we have 160 pending sales. So lots of closings coming up. That was that, how we were so crazy busy in March, month of March. Yeah, those are closing now. So that running around 12 hours a day stuff, those are all coming to the closing table. And then let's see what else is interesting on here. Even the sales up in every single category, again, even in all the way up to $1 million. So a total of 901 contracts have closed in the last 6 months, and the median sold price was $265,000. Breaking it down, of course, the 200 to 300 price range contains the highest number of sold listings. That doesn't seem to change much from month to month, does it?
Well, excuse me. What it's done, though, is it's shifted over the last year or so from the 150 to 2 to the 2 to 3.
Yes, it has. Yeah, absolutely has. Yeah, it's crazy that we think about first-time home buyers and we're looking at 200 to 300. Ay, ay, ay.
But as you pointed out, with interest rates where they're at now, that's not as scary as it sounds.
Yeah, I actually had read an article about some realtor was talking about when they were doing business several years ago in the market, the interest rate was 18%. A house that a family would buy now for a $1,600 month house payment would have been $6,500 then.
Yeah.
So, and let's face it, wages are definitely higher now than they were then. So all the way around, it's still, prices being higher, it's still lower monthly payments.
And I've done the math. We've talked about this before. When I look at when I got into my house a million years ago, you're getting, for the same amount of payment, you're getting more house.
Right. And I tell people, let's not focus on the purchase price per se, okay? Because truth be told, very few of the houses that I'm selling this year are going to be owned by those same buyers until they're paid off 20 years from now or 30 years from now. Very, very few of them. I think that's even more so because we live in Rochester, Minnesota, where people come to do a residency and then go, or come to do a fellowship and then go, or come to do an internship, or come to work for a little while and get mayo on their resume and then they go home to where they came from, or whatever. There's a lot of comings and goings. So it's not like when I grew up, I lived in the same house my entire childhood, or you probably did too. My parents still live in that house. Those days are gone.
I think I read somewhere that in Rochester specifically, because of what you were just talking about, every 5 years, 1/3 of the population changes out.
Correct. So I tell people when they buy the house, as much as you might think this is going to be your forever house, I can promise you that within 5 to 7 years from now, you're going to be moving. Either the triplets are on the way, or you have gotten a better job offer somewhere else, or whatever the reason is going to be. You're going to move. I mean, it's just a statistic. I can't talk. The statistics prove it.
Life happens.
Life happens. And so because of that, I think let's focus on your monthly budget. Let's focus on how does this monthly payment fit your income and your other expenses and the way you want to live. And, I always tell people the most important thing is, yes, you might be able to afford more, but what feels really good? What feels like if we want to take a trip, we can take a trip and not feel house poor,
Yeah.
So I think it's super important, and people can get approved for pretty high amounts because a lot of people in Rochester have really high incomes. And you know what else I find? A lot of people, maybe it's a Minnesota thing, but a lot of people in our market have really high credit scores as well. So I don't know if it's because we have a higher level of education per capita. I don't know if that all goes hand in hand, but very few. I work with some young buyers that have a low amount of credit because they haven't yet established it. They don't have credit cards. They've maybe had a car loan and they've paid their car payments on time, so they don't have bad credit, but they just don't have much credit. And that's kind of looked at the same way as, it's actually kind of unfortunately perceived as a low credit score.
Well, it's part of we all went through it, right?
Right, exactly. Nobody started out at the top, or nobody started out with perfect credit. If they did, I want to know their secret.
And there's no shortcut to it either. You just have to be consistent and make your payments, and you have obligations, fulfill your obligations, and you'll eventually get there.
And that's why I always tell these young ones starting out, let's buy something that even if right now we have to fight for a house and we have to pay more than it's worth. I don't want it to be more than it's going to appraise for, but they're all going pretty high. Let's find something that you can afford comfortably and live in and enjoy, and it provides you shelter and an opportunity to create wealth.
Right. It's an investment.
It's an investment.
We have to take another break, a real quick break. We'll be back with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group RE/MAX results here on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Have you ever wanted to learn a new language like French, Spanish, or Russian?
Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group RE/MAX results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good morning and welcome back. We're talking about the monthly statistics concerning the local real estate market here in the Rochester area. And we usually cover this. I don't think we talked about it yet, Robin. The inventory supply, it's usually a month or so. Where are we at with that now?
Yeah, that's about exactly where we're at.
Okay.
1 month supply. So unfortunately, if nothing comes on the market, then in 1 month from now, we have nothing to sell.
Well, the good news is it's not lower than it was.
No, it's not lower. We're kind of holding steady. So it's sort of like list, sell, repeat. List, sell, repeat. List, sell, repeat. And that's okay with me. I like that. Makes it very quick and stress-free. What we're talking about with this credit. Let's go back to that for a minute. This week I had a young buyer, such a nice kid, and I was so impressed by him. Literally 21 years old and ready to buy a house.
Wow, that wasn't me.
Isn't that so cool? So cool.
It is.
And so because he lives in Wabasha and lives with his parents in Wabasha and has a job in Lake City, he wants to live in Wabasha. Okay? So it worked out really well for him because he's only ever had a car loan. He doesn't have anything else. He can't get, like for a normal buyer, you can have your utility company say, I've paid my electric bill on time, all the while I rented. You can have your landlord say, I paid my rent on time, or your cable company. All those things will help build that credit as well. It doesn't have to be just a credit card, right? Well, this young man has lived at home. And he has never paid rent. He's never paid an electric bill or a cable bill or any of those bills. He's been very fortunate and has parents that have, allowed him to stay at home and work. But at the same time, he's done a great job. He has saved $7,000, which I'm super impressed by, and he wants to buy a house. Well, because of his lack of credit, he doesn't qualify for conventional financing, right? So he can get a FHA loan. Well, that's fine and dandy, but we've talked a lot about, competing in multiple offers and how I get so frustrated because you come forth with an FHA loan and the listing agent almost always guides the seller to go away from the VA loans, away from the FHA loans, and to take the conventional loans. And of course, the old saying, cash is always king. So if somebody's in there with cash, take the cash offer. The part that drives me crazy about this is that who's coming in and buying houses with cash? It's not the first-time home buyers, I'll tell you that. It's the investors, right? It's the people that have the money, and now they're taking advantage of it, and they're coming forth with their cash offer, which they will then own that property and turn it into a rental because they know there's all these frustrated buyers who aren't getting a house, aren't able to buy one, and now need a place, so they're going to turn around and rent these places. And then when they decide to sell it, they'll sell it and they'll make more money on it. So it's sort of kind of making the gap between the haves and the have-nots even bigger because those young buyers who are trying to get started, whether they're a vet who's now out of the service and wants to take advantage of this VA loan, or it's a young buyer who hasn't yet established credit and wants to get an FHA loan, they a lot of times can't compete at the table in the multiple offers. And I just find it very, very unfortunate.
And it's beyond even that because, as you point out, when the home becomes a rental home, oftentimes the rent is higher than what the mortgage would have been.
Yes. So that's why it's like you can't. Here he is, working really hard and trying to, build his wealth at a very young age, which is, again, hats off to this young man. I'm so impressed. But I was so thrilled to say to him, guess what? I actually just listed a house, and they don't want to put it on the market until after the 100-mile rummage sale, which is going on, and they have stuff everywhere. And so I said, maybe I could talk them into selling it without even going live. And so I did, and I went to them and I explained the situation, and they had lived in the house for a long time, 45 years plus.
Wow.
And they were elated. They were so happy that this young man was in the position to buy the house, and they were so thrilled to sell it to him. And so I was just feeling so good about that.
Is that... I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question because I think I'd be open to that kind of thing that you're just talking about. That if I were looking at offers for my home when the day comes that I put it on the market, I would not want to sell it to an investor. That would be specifically
and there are sellers, and investors are not a protected class, so you're not discriminating by not choosing an investor. Okay, so there's nothing illegal about that, and there are sellers that feel exactly the same way you do, Andy. And it's sort of like keep the American dream alive. Keep helping these young people buy that house and get in. And if that's their means as an FHA loan, and what's even better than just the fact that he's got an FHA loan, he gets a rural Minnesota rural housing loan. I guess I want to say loan. I want to say it's down payment assistance, but it's an interest-free loan. So he'll get a loan that'll come with his mortgage, and that loan will pay for his down payment as well as his closing costs. So he'll get to keep that $7,000 that he has saved up in his bank. I think he has to spend $2 $2,000 of it, okay? And the rest of it he'll get to keep. And then he'll take that Minnesota down payment assistance, and he'll get to pay his down payment and his closing costs. And what will happen is when he sells the house, whether that's in 4 years from now or 18 years or 40 years, whenever he sells the house, like I told you, it's probably going to be 5 to 7 years. But whenever he sells the house, he has to pay that $11,000 back, but it's interest-free. Interest-free.
And odds are, I mean, really good odds are, he's going to...
The house will have improved in value.
Right.
Yes, increased in value.
You know what I like about this is, you know, you talk about community. I know you're super heavily invested in community. This option, this idea that you would put a preference towards a young man like this or a young family it's going to help your neighborhood.
Yes, it's really nice. And, you know, the fact is that it's a small town. Everybody knows everybody, right? And they're like, oh, his relatives live on our street and they're fine people. We love them. And, you know, I just love it. I just love it. And it just feels so good that and I told them when I went to list the house. Now, this is the deal, you guys. Even Wabasha is getting into multiple offers now. And even Wabasha, we can price this up because it hasn't always been like that. You know, there have been times where the market was booming and on fire in Rochester, and then I would go to a listing appointment in Wabasha, and they'd be like, oh, I'm hearing the houses in Rochester are selling. I'm like, yeah, that's Rochester. It's unfortunately not really kind of out in the outlying communities, but those days are gone. It's definitely in the outlying communities now as well. So I told these sellers, you know, in all fairness to you, we can put this at the tip top of the price range that it will appraise at, and we can expect multiple offers. And they were super excited. So when I went back to them and said, you know, here's a young man that has FHA financing, he can get this down payment assistance, which helps him get in. But if it gets into multiple offers, clearly there might be stronger financing. But it's your call, you know, whatever you want to do. And they said, no, what's wrong with that? We get our money. We don't care how he gets his money. We're proud of him. We're happy to see him succeed.
Wow.
So, yeah, I love that.
You know what? You just made my day.
Oh, good.
And we're out of time.
Oh, wow. That was a fast show.
It was. So if I want to get a hold of you to sell my home or buy a home, if I'm one of these young folks starting out, maybe how do I get a hold of Robin?
Whether you're a young folk starting out or you are established and want to sell your multi-million-dollar house, whatever it is, I can help you. Call me on my cell phone. It's 507-259-4926, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Robin. We'll talk to you next week.
Have a great day.
You too. Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results here on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.